You're beautiful.
We'll
So,
see.
here's like a modern incarnation of the shirt you're wearing. This is like one of my favorites.
That is absolutely fuego. With the king on it, the crowns. That's actually freaking awesome.
Right.
I'm not a fashionista. I'm not a big fashion person. Never really claimed to be.
Come on.
But like, dude, when you're putting that in front of me, I'm like, dang, dude.
And it's
Because
cool.
I still do have a sense of like some things you wear and people look at you a little different. People might even say something about it.
They really do.
That's nice threads, whatever.
What's so funny is I don't
Yeah.
know if I almost ever get comments on my clothes, but Kenzie wears out my clothes and she is complimented every time.
Nice.
Or just everyone else, I'm like, life knows when you want it too much, and it just knows not to give it to you. No, not even that I care. At the end of the day, it really is for comfort. Like, so you've had that for probably a couple months, and it's not like the best piece. It's like I bleached it and then I tried tie dyeing it. So
Yeah, I've had this for getting close to a year, I think.
no,
No?
I haven't even bleached since.
Okay.
It was after July. I think it was probably August or like
That
end of July.
makes sense,
So about
yeah.
6 months. How's it been?
Oh, been loving it. Yeah, you gave me 3 garments in total. They're all excellent. Yeah, still really enjoy wearing them. And for I had a thing where I left them in the bottom of a hamper for maybe at least a month or two. Kind of forgot about them almost.
Totally.
And then when it came back, or when I washed it and it was back in my circulation, felt like a new person, dog.
It's, as you can imagine, I definitely run into situations where I'm like, oh yes, I forgot this one existed, and then I finally wear it because there's just too many to wear.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, genuinely, like, you've committed your life to making these garments, so I don't have to lecture at you about it, but I'm sure on some level, you know, we develop relationships with our clothing,
absolutely,
you know?
and I'd only realized that this year, like prior to this year, I didn't, and then once I did, I was like, oh my god, it's an important relationship. It's just like, hey, I feel good.
It wraps around you. It's what's contacting probably most of your skin.
for your entire waking life,
Yeah.
pretty much. Like aside from showering, you're touching it. So I'm like, why wouldn't I get, like, just like,
Yeah.
you know? And it's not even higher end because they come with stains and holes, which I just fixed with the bleach, you know. Bada boom. But yeah, like
You
it's
fix a hole with bleach? I'd need to see how that works.
it's really hard to know, like one of these. You see those red ones right there?
I just think of bleach as altering color more than it is like,
You can't see the
Okay.
holes. The holes are like
okay.
microscopically small, and then if you think of like finding a hole on this shirt, it's
Okay.
just not ain't gonna happen.
I get it now.
Yeah.
We're reestablishing flow because I haven't seen you in a long time, but
And
it's
I've-
awesome seeing you.
You too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you came over about 6 months ago, and prior to that, I hadn't seen you in 6 months or a year. So, this is, you know, it's funny, you're one of the most recurring guests, but we really don't see each other that often, which is
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah, our friendship has ebbed and flowed. I love that.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just good to have someone who's like, we're busy. Life,
Mhm.
like, it's really difficult, even while, like, wearing yourself down to the bone, it seems like, to succeed in life. So, it's just, there's no time for, like, oh, I'm just hanging out with a friend,
Yeah.
chilling. But you're one of the cherished people who.
Well, I think of myself sometimes as someone who, with the limited free time that I have, let's say, I am kind of trying to like hang out with a friend if we're also doing something I would label productive. Like, yeah, might not want to come over and play video games like for hours on end, but maybe if we went to the gym as part of that, you know, maybe if we took a hike. So that's kind of like, it'll entice me more to spend time with my friends when there's like also like, okay, we're working towards something.
Is
And
everyone like that now? Like, is everyone on like capitalist friendships only? Of just like, well, hey, does this serve some sort of like profit, or that's odd. That's
Yeah.
we're living in an odd time where it's really hit me lately of just how I'm like I step back and I look at the bigger picture, because my mom just kept calling me like, how are things? I'm like, not well. It's like.
yeah.
And more or less, like, I'm living in a room full of my favorite clothes. I'm hanging out with a person who I cherish. I'm with Kenzie. I like relatively well, but more or less just like existentially, things are like uncertain.
Yeah, that's true. It's a widespread feeling. It's kind of crazy. It parlays a little bit into like even CEOs are feeling existentially threatened right now.
Yeah, probably.
That's a sector of society that tends to have a lot of security under themselves. So it's a widespread thing that people don't really know where we're headed.
Yeah, it's funny. I had forgotten that I was saying it, and maybe I even said it during one of your shows. You asked like the controversial thoughts.
Yeah, I asked, yeah.
One of my more controversial thoughts for a long time was, I'm like, school shooters, if we could just like float them by a little bit further, they would start assassinating, like, instead of going at like people who like, no, don't go kill people in schools. Go kill like bureaucrats and people who are like making life harder and worse for you. Like there could almost be a slightly more positive, like, you know, it's all negative if they're going on a murder spree, but so then someone finally did it.
Yeah, I don't endorse.
You don't endorse violence and murder. Hot take.
You know, it was frankly, it was Kyle Kalinske I was watching, who was basically like, yes, these politicians that are talking about this are going to first say up front, like, we do not endorse violence and murder and this kind of enactment of, you know, of violent
murder.
Exactly. And then he was basically, Kyle Kalinske was basically saying, but you have to have the but in there also, which is, but this system is also enacting a lot of violence on people on a wide scale, and people are upset about it, and that's going to emerge, and that needs to be solved as well.
Yeah, let's take it back from the world stage to our personal. Like, maybe we can build up what we've been up to. Just because, you know, that's an eddy that we can get stuck in for the whole time that, you know, we're talking. What's been up with you? You said you're working another job that you hadn't told me about.
Yeah, I've been speaking a little more Japanese lately because I've been working at Toshi's Ramen.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. I often will go in there, and people that I know are in there. You know, I don't get the chance to talk to them that much because this is a busy ramen shop for sure. It's always pretty busy. But the work day is fun. It's a long work day, but we only each work about 3 days, and we still clock in close to full-time hours because I'm there 10 to 3, and then off for 2 hours. But sometimes I'll still work in a little bit into those 2 hours to try to help myself a little bit, tackling the load of everything, and then on again from 5 to close, and then when we're done closing up the shop.
You have a 2-hour break in the middle of your day?
Yeah, I do.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that'd be nice, just to like kick back for a second. I just saw you posted that was the last big dirty. You were a security guard there too, or the Wow Hall? Like, what do you just fill me in.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, sure. Well, one thing I'm excited about is I don't know if you're familiar with the City Club of Eugene. I'm trying to make this institution more known, particularly in our generation, and the younger generations in general. But it's most known for being like a place that hosts like the debates and the forums for like local politics. When people run for things, people run for attorney general, they come to City Club, and City Club hosts the debates and forums. But also throughout the years, non-election years, constantly having forums about various topics like food insecurity, homelessness, community safety, you know, so many
lively, joyful topics. No,
yeah,
it is interesting to like essentially like willingly go into like hard conversations that aren't enjoyable to hear, but it has to. Kenzie and I went to a tree lighting near Voodoo, and it was like, you know, 50 or 60 people there, but then there was one person there just like muttering like loudly to themselves and like punching the air, and then there was a cop like across the lane, and it was just like, I just remember a lot of like time just being like, it's just essentially, it just puts a damper on like the city events, which is there's no right answer more than anything, and I'm like, man, that guy's probably thinking everyone's looking at me.
Places for them to go and places for them to get the healing and the help that they need.
Yeah,
you know my journey enough to know that
I
had one mental break in 2019, and that thing taught me so much about how to take better care of my own mental well-being, and my overall well-being.
How fragile consciousness is.
Yeah. So it is hurtful, and not hurtful is what I mean to say, but it does feel, if you have any empathy and you see people that are clearly struggling on a day-to-day basis, it does have a weight to it in that feeling. And, you know, I think some people, their response is kind of just to push it out of sight, and like send them to another town. And we have to think wide and deep about how to tackle this, and not just try to push
I don't control the buses, so I can't push them to another town. I'm at an event, and it's not like I'm like I don't have empathy. More than anything, it's just like I'm like, I just keep like, essentially, if they're air punching, I'm like, hey, like there's some level of erraticism, which I just want to be aware of, and I'm like, they probably feel like everyone's looking at them because everyone kind of is. It's like this interesting cycle that it's like, but if you just remove them from there, then it's like, then they feel ostracized. I've been just trying to like digesting of like, what do you do? And but then it's like, okay, the alternative is people are like, oh, I didn't really feel safe or comfortable at like a community gathering, so less people come, less of them get done, and it's like there's
Yeah.
less of a community. But it seems like at Toshi's Ramen, if you like, you see people who you knew outside of Toshi's, and then you see them there, or you say like you see regulars, like you have a sense of like Toshi's community.
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. I see friends from all around town. I've seen my former teacher. That's funny. I just realized how much farther I was down than you, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I can get some lift.
Nice.
Yeah, now you're slouching for me. Thank you.
This only goes down that far, but yeah, nice.
Oh, it runs the gamut, but like I'm really grateful that I really like the people that I work with. And you know, it seems to be pretty reciprocal. They seem to like me too, so I'm fitting in well, and that is a good thing.
Feels good to fit in.
It's a family business. There are things where I feel very well taken care of. I'm not speaking very well at this moment about it.
Are you kidding? You're eloquent. You're
No, but like shift meals, we get a shift beer at the end of the night if we want it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I
It's
actually
the
get
little
2
things like
shift
that.
meals a day because I have an AM shift and an evening shift. So it's pretty lit. I get ramen, gyoza, you know, stir fry if I want it, teriyaki chicken, chahan, which is fried rice.
2 meals can be kind of like a whole day's worth of meals if they're like, you know, big. Like
I can stash them.
Covering your meals for the day is like, it's like a quality of life, like significant. Because otherwise, I'm like going shopping and then I have all the snacks or mismatched. It's mine. It just takes up bandwidth, you know. But like,
Think about if I already get 2 shift meals a day and there's a mistake ramen that is made. And
Oops.
it just
Tommy-
gets to
Tommy's
yeah.
meal. Yeah,
I just
nice.
separate the noodles out so it doesn't stay soggy, doesn't get soggy, and then I've got a whole nother, you know, take home meal. And then if I'm only working 3 days a week, and one thing I discovered is that I basically actually have gone from the full amount of food stamps to 0. I'm not going to qualify for food stamps anymore because my new job, I'm making a lot more income, I suppose. I guess.
hey, congrats.
Thank you. So yeah, it's a threshold where I'm like, okay, I wasn't dependent overly on it, but I was definitely relying on, you know, that amount of food stamps for certain things, like soda or cheese, and things that I don't necessarily need to have all the time. But it's like, ooh, I don't want to spend cash on it, but I've got the EBT, swipe
Yeah.
that. So I'm gonna have to make some adjustments. But if I'm only working 3 days a week, my point is, I'm actually getting enough food. You know, to put in my fridge for the days I'm not working.
If I had known how this year would have went, it would have been good for me to get on food. Like, it's funny, we switched, and I've mentioned it on the previous, like, because I took a break at 150, and then I just did like 3 or 4, so this is the 5th one back. So I mentioned it on a couple of them, but essentially just like, I went from like, you know, like taking student loans out of it. I've always been in debt, but like, I was like, I had an amount of money that I'm like, I have a couple months of runway, 6 months runway, and now I'm like negative where I just opened a new credit card that has a 0% interest for 12 months, and I just took $5,000 of debt and just put it on there, and I'm like, okay, put it on ice for a year, and I'm just gonna try to like make sure that by the time it comes around, because I'm like, I definitely I went a little hard on clothes, and the selling is, it's not that it's not coming, it's not that it's kind of that I don't want to do it. I really like and cherish a lot of them,
Yeah.
and it's just, you know, like I've sold probably,
I really want to buy one.
yeah, I've sold a couple,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm still developing, and I'd love your thoughts on like how to sell one-of-one things, where it's like essentially some of them I'm like, oh, it's like really, because I'm like, I feel bad charging a lot for stuff, so some of them I'm gonna charge really low. Like honestly, there will be some shirts that are $20, like maybe even $15 shirt, but then there's some shirts that'll be $200, because it's like, well, I'd rather just keep that shirt than have $150. I think that's kind of how I'm thinking of it, of like, well, I would rather have the shirt than blank, but it's still hard to do for so many items.
Yeah.
But I just realized I'm only going to sell in person, at least for the foreseeable future. So people can come over. One person came, he picked some hoodies, and he actually had me add screen prints, like live in front of him for like a couple 2 hours, paid me and left. But I think I've just made like 3 sales. And they've just been situations where I gift someone a shirt or something like you, and then they're like, I want to buy one, and they're persistent. But for the most part, it's odd. It's odd being in debt. It's something that people don't talk about. It's not socially.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to come off like they're doing well. I'm constantly doing well my entire life, and I'm like,
the system depends on us kind of putting that out. I think social media helped in. Well, there's times it's given people a voice and able to maybe call out to some larger group of people if they were in dire straits, but I think in many cases it's more so encouraged us to It's assigned a numerical value onto all our individual thoughts and our individual reactions to other people's thoughts, and it makes us, feel kind of shell-shocked if we're out there oversharing, or really talking about the things that we feel vulnerable about. So, I agree with you. And literally, like, if you're smiling and you look happier, it's gonna reach more people. So why would you not want to reach those people?
Totally. And I can be smiling and happy while still just having the slight more like for a while, it's probably like a week or two where I just felt like I just paid, like I accrued some debt that month. Before the next month, I'm like, I got to figure something out, because my credit card was like 25%. I'm like, this is where a bad debt cycle can start, of just this feeling of like, shit, I can't pay it off now. It's like,
wait, 25% utilization?
25% interest.
Oh yeah, no. I was like, I get it now.
No, my utilization.
I was thinking a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my utilization's low. Like, it's all okay, but more or less, it's just weird. If they don't prepare you in school for when your number's negative.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, technically, like, our bills are paid because we have some video work, and part of the reason I'm doing clothes is a hedge against AI video, like just a transition from like, well, AI can't make one-of-one clothes.
Right.
Right. So it's some level of like, holy shit, like it's just wiping out industry.
For anybody who didn't know you too much somehow, who might find this pod through me or something, you have a history. You have good marketing works, so you do a lot of great video work. You were doing incredible social media video work for Archimoto, you and Kenzie. Yeah. So, yeah, dude, you're the bomb with that.
It's definitely left a weird taint of social media in my mind. It's taken like pretty much 2 years, because we got like the whole, including the CMO, all of marketing got let go 2 years ago pretty much. So it took 2 years for me to kind of start posting again and just enjoying it, rather than seeing it like I'm signing into work every time I like open up TikTok or Instagram. So I'm happy I kind of finally have it back. But just finding a relationship with releasing content is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious where you're at, because you started that episode 150. You've put out more positive, but like, you're a person who puts stuff out, which I respect. You just put out an EP.
I did put out an EP in October. Yeah.
It's hard. Not a lot of people do.
Oof. I mean, yeah, that's just such a tiny, this already. It's a tiny fraction of the stuff that could be out that just is, I've never felt that it should be yet. It didn't reach a level that it makes me feel good every time I listen to it. Mm-hmm. Maybe I like it 7 out of 10 times I listen to it. I think it's probably better than a lot of stuff that's out there, so why don't I just put it out, right? But somehow it almost like feels like I need to love it 11 times out of the 10 times I listen to it. It's just not a possible threshold to meet.
I like the way that Kanye puts out music by just putting it out, and then he has the pressure to update it within the next couple weeks and or months. So it's like, it's like, well, if you don't like it, like realistically, you can re-upload a new MP3 file. And I'm like, I like that. If I were to put out music again, I'd probably just get it like, oh, I like it a lot. Because like some music, I remember just like seeing a video of like what it was like in its infancy stage. I'm like, I should have stopped that track fucking so long ago. I liked it more potentially like back when it was simpler. But I haven't made music in a while. I have like this bank of like 20 songs. I'm considering just slamming them through a limiter and putting them up on CD Baby, because this is a one-time upload.
Yeah, it's better than DistroKid for that. You don't have to continually pay to keep your stuff in people's ears and accessible.
Podcasts, $100 a year. I'm like, I want to switch to a free one, but music brings me in like $50 a year. I just get like a $50 royalty check once a year. I'm like, I don't know why. I try to like look into the analytics. It's like just use on Facebook Reels.
That's awesome.
That I can't find. So I'm like, might as well just put more. It's like,
no, for real. That's actually a real thing to just look at it from a volume standpoint. You're gonna get revenue back. Like some of it's gonna be somehow, if a person buys it, let's say they buy on Amazon MP3, if you put things out on CD Baby, it's coming out on so many different things. I've gotten like Australians listening to my music before, and like I could see that as like 5th most popular country, I think, on my Spotify listens and stuff. I'm like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. The algorithms are odd. Just the fact of, I finally gained faith in YouTube genuinely, because like TikTok was the app for just being seen by random people for a long time.
Yeah.
And then, but YouTube horizontal, I filmed like a 1-minute video, and the next day I did a 3-minute video, just a vlog. I'm like, I'm bringing vlogging back. It's fun. I film it and I put out that content by the end of the day. And just 2 comments. One was like, anytime I see something under 100 views, I click it. Another was like, I don't know how I got here, but I like it. It was random. Like, if you don't know me, but YouTube showed my stuff to random people who clicked on it. I'm like, cool. great. My goal is to vlog a little, like every day. That'd be really fun, I think.
Dude, there's basically one vlogger that I've enjoyed the most, and it kind of came out of Pokemon Go. His name is Trainer Tips. His name's Nick, but his channel is called Trainer Tips. And it's kind of interesting because there was a long period of time I was very, very focused on playing Pokemon Go, right? And
I love it. Yeah.
And continually, they're in a period where they're doing a lot of updates. So if you went on Reddit and found the Sylph Road subreddit, it's a highly nerdy, technical back-end kind of look at like even upcoming updates that were going to come out that they would data mine for in the Pokemon Go game.
Yeah.
Like, people would stay really up on what's coming out in the game. But then also, all the Trainer Tips would do is he would shoot like 10 to 20 minute vlogs where like a couple minutes of it is a high quality kind of run through of those things. Mm-hmm. And other parts of it are just him out catching Pokemon and vlogging and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so at one point, I was in the audience of people that would be on Reddit, looking at all those updates as quickly as possible, then seeing him talk about them on his videos. But, and the point I'm trying to get to, which is not really that interesting of a point,
I'm loving it. I'm already thinking about myself, though, but yeah.
Fuck yeah. Is that, you know, he would say, like, I know that some of you only get Pokemon Go news through my videos. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not that kind of person. I also get it from the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's come to the point in my life that, like, I do not pay attention to those Pokemon Go, like, Reddit forums and stuff. Yeah. But I still watch his videos for the info because vlogs are cool.
Yeah, they're cool. They can be. Man, I was going to say my version of Pokemon Go lore and stuff. I'll grab two things. One, and then one right behind you.
Yeah, and then I also been playing the trading card game. So, might open a card pack on your show.
Live on it. So, kind of like update, like with Call of Duty, I'll see like, oh, cool, this gun is shit now. But with just following, like there's data miners and stuff. So this is your shirt. This is what it would be if it got finished.
Okay.
But it got left, so it would have gap on the front and it would have a dove on the back.
Mm-hmm.
But
nice.
That's just a sample of the shirt.
Uh-huh.
And obviously you remember the Vultures merch. This is like, they made a couple red versions.
Oh, wow.
And so I snagged those. And it's like the samples are really inexpensive because they're not marketed as easy. They often cut out the tags just because they don't want it to be. It's just like the merch that didn't quite make it. But like essentially, so I've had to get used to.
So you don't pay full price for it?
No. I mean, so because this shirt
is all your stuff Yeezy?
I would say 80% of it. The
I
stuff
didn't
over
realize
there.
it was that much. I knew that you liked them.
That isn't Yeezy. Like, yeah, most of them are.
Yeah.
I just love. They genuinely just feel.
Have you ever had times?
This one's different than that. If you feel the quality of that shirt, man.
Have you ever had times when it seemed like somebody would be a good business relationship to have, but then they discovered that you were a big fan of Ye, and that was a bridge too far for them?
It hasn't. I use Kanye as a litmus test for.
I would think you do because you're very like upfront about the things, especially things that you're passionate about.
Yeah,
and you're very passionate as a fan of him.
So I bring him up.
I'm not really a big. I respect
it. I respect it. But
I had a time in my life I was a big fan of.
That's
his music,
great.
You know,
and then so in my litmus test, when people are like, I liked him at one point, you like to see the good in people, like you like, but other people are like, he's a violent, hateful person. I'm like, okay, that person either one kind of crowdsources some of their thoughts, or maybe reads headlines, or maybe just doesn't give people the most charitable view. And then also, it's really funny how many people pretend to care about mental health and stuff like that. And then it's like, but fuck that black guy. He can't because he's rich. And it's just like, no, he's been in the public eye to an extreme level for 20 years. He's said stuff that is not as bad as the majority of people I know have said. And realistically, there's rationale. Like, you know, obviously, like when he went on Alex Jones,
I
it was like
black Americans face an unbelievable amount of scrutiny from the media when they're nationally successful. I could say that.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that it's that demographic or group of people, but there are specific issues they face that are really entrenched and really pervasive to the point it's very hard to tear away at those historical things because people don't like it when you bring it up.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah, I just love that there's a sound bite of me just saying "fuck that." Like, you
know, well, I mean, I was, you know, I've kind of known you to rail against identity politics, let's say, in the past. Yeah. So then I was like, oh, he's actually bringing Kanye's race into it. I was like, that's interesting.
Oh, because more or less, it's really funny to make people like really don't like him, and it's funny to always be like just just allude to the fact that they're like slightly racist, and people are like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not though. And
I'm like, I'm not like the most comfortable in the world, and that's something to examine, right? I'm not that comfortable about us talking about him on this pod, but that's for a few reasons. It's like, one, because I just know that you're a big fan, and why would I come into your space and be like, let me remind you, Tiger, he said some very awful things that are very hurtful, which in my opinion is quite true. Then what you're, I think, kind of bringing up is that there can be a mental crisis that underlies some of those things.
And I really don't even, I think he's very stable of mind. I think like the Christianity thing of no human being is pure evil. They have no redemptive features. They would be better off dead. Like, he took it to the extreme, I would say. And he was almost definitely just trying to get out of a deal. Like, there's a video of him joking where he's like, that'll never happen again. A $2 billion deal is ended because of a tweet. It's like, that is funny. Like, he clearly had, like, he ended the Gap deal, and then he couldn't get out of the Adidas because they wouldn't manufacture in the U.S. Like, someone who cares that much about not using like using cotton, farming in the U.S., sewing in the U.S. Someone who refunded, when I bought the Vultures merch for $100, and then he dropped it to $20 during the Super Bowl, and he refunded $80 for all those. Like, those tend not to be just like these evil, cruel, violent people. Someone who would conduct business that thoughtfully. A lot of people, I would say, try to like just distance themselves from the impact they're having on the world and the community and culture. But I would say he is in like a shining light for being truthful to your current thoughts and then adjusting them over time. And it's like, yeah. And like, people should be able to, you've heard Tim Dillon, right?
I've heard Tim Dillon.
It's like really like, and I don't know. It's like Tim Dillon says some pretty heinous,
horrendous.
Yeah, those two things. So it's like, I'm trying to get more comfortable with the idea of like, if someone says something and they don't have like hate in their heart, they're just exploring an idea. Like, most people are controlled their whole life by don't even think about some things, like, because you're a bad person, like, or it's bad if you even consider suicide, or you consider like, just different things, like. And I'm like, no, like, people should be free to explore things. Yeah, maybe on a public stage it's not the best time or place to do it, but he just probably doesn't really have much of a private stage. I mean, people are leaking his music. I have 24 hours of music that's leaked. Like, people leak just conversation. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said you're uncomfortable. We can hop off it.
Well, thank you. Yeah. It's just the situation where, it's such a touch point for a lot of strong emotions, and those come from really valid places a lot of the time.
Yes,
so
he is a touch point for that.
Yeah,
and that's why he's my litmus test of can if someone disagrees with me, can they be amicable about it? Do they just try to find the good, or like are they like like people who are like, oh, blah blah blah. I'm like, it's good that we don't work together. Like, it's like an early blocker for people who I likely wouldn't get along with.
Oh, it can be good to have, for lack of a better word, litmus test. Like, have certain things where if you know that it's gonna potentially come up later as an issue, bring it up right up front.
And I would say it's not even because
it's like speed dating would be probably a good thing. I've never done it, but it's like
I've dated on speed.
I could see that you have. I could see that being helpful, because it's just like, oh gosh, let me just use this amount of time. You're gonna want to know I have like bad breath, or I fart a lot, something like that. It's like, oh, we know that's a deal breaker. Cool. Let's just chat in a friendly way or an awkward way for 90 more seconds or whatever it may be.
And I would say he isn't a deal breaker. Someone can not like him, and I'm totally fine. I don't care at all. It doesn't get brought up. I bring it up purposefully early because it brings up a lot of things that are underlying of like, ooh, are they judgmental? Like, will they judge me when I say things that aren't culturally like, it's like, essentially it's just a good like, oh, cool. They're it's just easy. Like,
it's always tough too. When like I was seeing some stuff about a person who I would think is a leftist progressive kind of person, but they were basically talking about how even in instances where it's like a guy like the president-elect Donald, if there's misinformation about him that makes him look less favorable, they're not a fan of that because it's misinformation. It's not true. So it's like it may be convenient because that person's politics are such that they can't stand Donald's politics, but I don't know why I'm just not saying his full last name or whatever.
Like who is it?
But I also don't want to fully avoid. No, I'm
Say
just
people's names.
No, I'm just talking about the president-elect.
Oh.
You know, the guy who likes to put his name on big buildings everywhere around the world.
Donnie
so it's
boy.
like almost like I don't want to say it.
Okay,
But it's like, you know, that's a serious consideration. Like, are lies that advance your political team and your side and in ideologies you genuinely think are better for humanity, are lies that do that
any means
doing?
just the ends. No, I'm kidding. I just get really dark about it. No, I think if someone knows the truth, and
in my opinion, they're not. You should be able to use genuine truths. You know, you should be able. Your statements, they could be a little bit emphatic. You can say things to try to emphasize, like, you know, like, did you know we're all gonna, like, the fish are gonna be gone in this short period of time of years? Like, you could be really.
You know, half of people today are.
There just should be like some strong truth behind it, is what I'm saying. You know, it's like, don't just say things that are not true at all.
Well, how much data have any of us poured through to say? And that's why I don't often talk about like politics in a larger sense. Really, so I didn't vote. I voted for Kanye in 2020. I didn't vote in this time, but I have for the first time developed some level of resentment towards some people who openly just disliked one of the candidates, and I'm like, and like I watched the, I would say, pro-Trump propaganda near the end of like Elon on Joe Rogan, JD Vance on Tim Dillon. I'm like, just hearing people talk for a long extended period of time humanizes them, and just hearing that they were anti-war, just the idea of just playing Call of Duty like makes me just like kind of like, holy shit, man, we should not be in fucking war. Not that I voted for anyone, or I really care.
Speaking of video game controllers, you know, Trump did a whole lot of drone strikes.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's war.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though. You know, the Harris campaign. I know you don't want to get it too much into
politics. This will be my 10 minutes of politics for the year. Give it to me. Feed it strong. Lay it on thick.
They had a little bit of moments there where they were looking strong in terms of getting mainstream normie public support, by kind of saying like JD Vance is weird, these guys are weird, and overall it actually kind of maybe hurt them because they set such a low expectation for what JD Vance was like as a person. And when he did the circuit of interviews and did the debate, he had a low bar and he cleared it by a good measure. You know, I think I think a lot of these people are professional liars, and I think he's certainly one of them. Yeah, that was maybe not the smartest move.
Would you say all politicians are professional liars? Because I like that way of framing them.
I guess we'd have to define the word politician in that sense. Because if anyone's in Congress or the Senate, you're looking at 530 odd people at a given time.
All professional liars.
But you could. There's definitely politicians. I'm just kind of thinking like, okay, is somebody who lives in a town of 1,000 people who had to be on a ballot to get on their school board because they wanted to make sure their kids had better lunches or something like that? Is that person a politician? A mother of 6 in Junction City? Are they a politician? You know, it's like, that person is probably not a liar, I would say. You know, so you got to draw the line somewhere, and maybe it's my brain that likes to categorize information in the world. Like, I would wonder where you draw that line. State representative position, do you draw it at how much money they've received for campaigns in the past? Do you draw it at how many voters are in their constituencies?
I would say if they're willing to look at situations with like what serves like their agenda first and foremost, rather than like, you know, the truth. Like, essentially, if anyone who is, I've made up my mind, don't confuse me with the facts, like that's a politician. Like someone who it's like, hey,
that definition is certainly people that are not honest.
Yeah, they want to be seen. Yeah. They want a certain base to like them.
Here's why we like each other.
We want people to like
us.
Everyone wants people to like us.
Sure, and like one thing I think we like about each other is we both are pretty passionate that people can kind of do better by society and can seek truth better. You know, like you and I don't like when people are just lazy about seeking truth. It's like, come on, it's like right in front of you if you know where to look. You know.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating. But
and
I try to give people grace, though. You know.
And smooth talkers can really make things seem like I remember 4 or 5 years ago hearing Mario Yiannopoulos on Joe Rogan and Gavin McInnes, and honest to God, like not knowing politics or anything, be like, huh, they're funny, and that like just like if someone can make you laugh, like you really do put down all the barriers of like judging it, and then they maybe slide in a phrase or two that it's like that's probably not true, but you kind of accumulate that 3-hour conversation into like a bow, and it's like that's why I don't really have anything that I pull out of my back, or I'm like, oh, well maybe Trump used drone strikes, but did you know? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know. I didn't pour through the data. I've heard things being said multiple times, but I don't really know. I heard that he was more vaguely anti-war than Kamala. I'm like, huh, that seems good. That was it.
I think it's certainly the case that the Harris campaign should have differentiated themselves from the Biden campaign on, major issues. They pretty much didn't. There was a moment on The View and their candidate said, she was asked, what would you do that's different from Joe Biden? And she said, nothing comes to mind, effectively.
That's hilarious.
Nothing major comes to mind that's fundamentally different. And that's
not... a bad professional liar.
Well, politics is a pendulum at times, and people have not been happy with Biden. And
do you want to get back in it? Kenzie wants to run, and I want to do marketing I want Lazar from Lazar's Bazaar to run.
Makeda,
and I would love to.
I think he ran in 2000 or 96, one of those, maybe even 04, but no, I think it was 2000. Yeah. I look back when I ran for mayor in 2020 at the all the previous elections and who ran, and trying to find, what the precedent was like and who those people were, because I wasn't very happy with the media landscape kind of. Not paying attention to everybody
Lucy Venice.
No, we're friends.
Wait, wasn't she the incumbent at the time?
Yeah, she was. I know, but I mean
then.
to say that she's gone on to appoint me to several positions.
That's awesome.
And
you were saying the media landscape, like the media landscape looked at one specific. I thought you were saying
and I don't need to name.
I have nothing against
I don't need to name names. Could rhyme with Eugene Schmeekley. Could rhyme with the Register Guard. So these institutions. They kind of, well, first of all, I fucking respect the hell out of journalists. So I really respect people that are in there. I'm not trying to diss that thing that's kind of a balance between an art form and a public service. Mm-hmm. It's really important to have good journalism.
Good journalism. I respect good journalism. Some of them is just sloppy. It's just bad writing. I'm like,
well,
it's hard to write good. I can't write good.
Sometimes it's not even so much about what you say, but what you don't cover. And what the lens by which, like, seriousness in a political campaign is tied to how much money you've raised, tied to, certain endorsements that you're able to accrue from influential business organizations and, nonprofit organizations, all sorts of stamps that you can put on your mailers that make, and the fact that you have mailers and signs and digital ads and TV ads,
it costs a lot.
Those are the things that make you able to be seen as a credible candidate, to even have a story about you, let alone an endorsement.
And the nice thing is, like, I feel like I could make really good video campaigns to play on TV or socials or anywhere. And like, if Kenzie ran, like, could you almost be a consigliere of just telling like what would be a waste? Or like, more than anything, it's just politics is like a weird marketing money lever of just like, well, however good your marketing is how much you succeed. It's much like church politics. There's a couple of things where it's like, man,
it's a long game. Sometimes when you don't come from channels of historically like powerful families and things like that. So I think like sometimes you have to run for things multiple times, or you have to run and then kind of leverage the ability you had to have an impact on the conversation, and do volunteer things and
what role
be
do you
on
get appointed
boards.
To? I'm curious.
The
what's your
Eugene
capacity?
Human Rights Commission. I was appointed by the council, the whole council, and the mayor, and then I was voted by my peers to be the vice chair. So that's how I serve on the Human Rights Commission for the city.
And that's at that thing that earlier you said you want more people our age to know about, where they actually do. Is that where you serve as the chair?
I'm actually the president-elect of the city club now, which is not part of the city of Eugene government. It's a nonprofit on its own. So thanks, man. So
you're the master of the debate. Like, are you the person who?
Well, I kind of MC the program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, MC the program. MC. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks.
I would almost go to like.
I was on the board while we were able to move it to the Wow Hall. I'm also on the board. I'm the I was just the vice chair of the board of the Wow Hall, and now I'm just a regular board member there, which is really exciting because I don't have to spend as much time on governance issues. I involve myself in a few different ways. I don't know if that's going to amount to anything, especially because one thing I'm a little bit annoyed about sometimes too is that I've been working as a security guard quite often at times, and now the bar that I've been doing security at is closing. So I've been really kind of just appreciating that I was like on the ground helping with public safety downtown, like
What was
being
it
there
like?
as a resource for people, like kicking people out who are causing any number of problems. It
Like,
was
I've
great.
never been in that situation in my life to
I
be
really-
like, hey, I'm in a position where I can tell you to leave this. I've never been in that. What's that like? Because
I don't want to do
no
it.
one wants to do it. But
Yeah.
what is it like psychologically
Last night,
knowing
the
that it's an
person
important role?
The final night of the Big Dirty, we were scheduled to close at like 2:15. We might have closed a little bit after that. People were like, one more song. But yeah, the whole night was really good. And I did have to ask someone to leave at like 1:40. It's like you couldn't have
And it goes
made
smoothly?
it the whole night. No, he was a jerk about it. Yeah.
And so like,
Yeah.
I mean,
He said like F my mother and stuff at the end. Yeah.
but it's just, dude, like, I mean, I don't know if you've done it, so it might just feel natural to you, but I'm like,
Yeah.
the idea of me just doing that would just feel so, I'm sure I could do it after a while, but I'm like, maybe if I had a uniform, I'd feel more like, I could
Yeah.
tell someone to like maybe leave the house, but I still have never even done that. Like I've never, like I am just so
Okay, I'll go, dude. Jeez, that's your way of pointing out you don't want me here?
I'm so pro,
Yeah.
like, oh, there's a way we can talk about it, that it's
Yeah.
like the idea of Stonewall, or like, just like, hey, there's no bandwidth, you just have to leave, like, I've never been in those positions, and it seems like it'd be really, like, does it take like, do you get home and you're just like, that's a bummer that I had a negative interaction with someone, like, it was destined to be
Oh,
negative,
yeah, I've
like,
had
that would
those.
weigh on me, it seems
You
like.
know, but I've never done anything that required me to like sit with the shame of like, oh, I really did someone wrong at my job today.
shame, but
I've
having someone
been
yell
really,
at you, even if it's
True.
not just, it just doesn't
well, I'm
feel
just
good,
saying it's the,
you know?
the thing I get through it with. What gets me through it is that I don't have to feel like, oh, that went poorly and I didn't experience good treatment from this person and I kind of effed up.
Ooh, that'd be a rough one, yeah.
I get to feel like, yeah, people don't want to get kicked out of bars, but that's how we keep people safe, is to keep people that are endangering other people out of there. So that's what we try to do. And yeah, so that's been
So
a
you
really
like physically kind of corral people a little bit, or just like
yeah.
mostly-
If they require that, for the
That's
most part, I
wild.
just gesture to the door. If they,
that
you
would
know,
get me. If you did that, I'd be like, fuck, man. Okay,
I mean,
I'll go.
yeah. And then actually, one thing that was, I'm glad I get to talk about it here really briefly because I was
I'm having
thinking
fun.
about.
I have follow-up questions about this.
Sure. Well, I was thinking about how to talk about this, but the last 2 times that I asked someone to leave the bar because they were being creepy towards other patrons in the bar, primarily women, was both of those instances that people were helping bring that to our attention. They started with the phrase, "Hey, I don't want to be that guy,"
Yeah.
but, and last night I was kind of happy to just say, I really don't need you to have that in your vocabulary. You aren't being that guy in any kind of a negative way. You should be that guy, that person that is actually not just a bystander and brings it to our attention, even if you feel a little hesitant, you feel like that person might have some social clout,
'Cause then
or
it
you
goes
don't
through
want to
your
embarrass
judgment.
a person that you don't
Yeah.
know. That is just secondary to the fact we have to keep people safe and we have to get rid of people things before they escalate.
Yeah.
You know, so and you know, once I asked that person to leave, multiple people thanked us and thanked me, you know, for doing that. And it's like he was probably genuinely oblivious, and it's pretty sad that he was. He was like, I didn't do anything. He was also just kind of, you know, entrenched in his pride in that moment.
Who
And,
not their entire lives?
Yeah, so I just want people to know that, like, you should be able to speak out even if you're not totally sure. You know, sharing information is good. Now, this could be going back to our other topic about, like, oh, people don't want to share information unless they know the absolute truth of it.
Yeah.
But that's different from, like, blasting things out on you know, sharing potential misinformation. If it is misinformation, it's a lot different from, you know, talking to a private security guard whose job is to
assess, reassess, like take that
Yeah.
info and assess.
Yeah.
Has anyone, you've gone up because of like complaints, and then but they've been like, oh, I didn't realize. Like, has anyone changed tones and been like, I am so sorry, I'm going to be respectful, and like how have you had any of those experiences?
Well, sometimes, you know, if it's like a thing where they really haven't done anything major, but they, you know, appear like people are kind of concerned about how they're just kind of behaving in the space, of course I'll give a warning, you know. And if it's a person who's conscientious and cares, and they, you know, again, they haven't done anything to justify their removal, maybe they'll adjust their behavior. That's obviously the goal. But for the most part, if you bring it up to that people think you're being a little too social or being a little bit too handsy, if you tell that to people, then yeah, they like to be like, what? Me? It's like Tim Robinson. He's like, what? You know, just so befuddled or acting befuddled. And that's just kind of a piss poor reaction.
Yeah.
You have to, I strongly believe you got to be accountable. So
I don't get
and sometimes it's hard. It's hard, but that doesn't mean that it's something you should avert from.
No,
you know?
I would say like those places are so loud. Like it's funny. I was out with some people and I was like, I really don't want to go. We went to Blair Alley, and literally
I'm probably going there tonight.
And I hadn't gone to any bar or something in months, pretty much a year since we lived there. And within 4 steps of walking in, someone was walking with just a beer like pretty full like in their hand, and then they turned and then like they smashed it against my leg and it like broke, and I'm like, I was fine. But more or less, I'm like, these places are just like so loud that you have your senses clouded. But like the person was conscientious, they were like, whoops, and, you know, and I was just like, I'm sorry, like, man, those just aren't my environment.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. Like I love podcasts and stuff, but like loud noises, man, I'm just like, whoa, quiet down, puppies.
No, it's true. I mean, there's such a variety of places we should be able to go and just have a good time with other people. And instead, it's pretty much like, no, it's going to be a dark room.
Dark, loud.
It's going to be long.
Yeah.
There's going to be like uncomfortable like stools and
or
like
it's
a
gonna
bar.
be hyper professional. It's like there's, or it's like a coffee. It's like there's like, man, like I don't know how, like, you know, like third space or like people are like kind of use that phrase, but I'm like, I really, really would derive. I think it's like just a community would derive a lot if there was a place where you could just like, oh, bored, you go there and you can meet people, you can see people, you know. There isn't any incentive to spend, like there isn't, oh, you go there, you have to spend money, and it's not too loud. Like, I mean, literally, like, you know, like it's
a tough thing because like, yeah, I was gonna say a stand-in for these places. I'm a big fan of the restaurant scene here in town. I've been my whole life. Been a big fan of restaurants, growing up in restaurants. My mom helping run 2 very successful Japanese restaurants. She doesn't get paid like she runs them, but she does a lot of important work to make them happen. And you know, working at Toshi's, having recently worked at McMenamin's North Bank, there's places that I really like appreciate as places that do like contribute so much to our community as places people come together. But yeah, you're kind of expected to buy things, and the cost of food is going up.
Your table, unless like maybe at a bar you can like kind of converse more. But you took me to Korean barbecue for my first and only time I've ever been. It was delicious. Thank you again. I mean, it's been like well over a year since then, and it was delicious and joyful. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I eat like Trader Joe's rice and tofu, man. Yeah, it's really interesting being tight on finances, but not to the point where I'm like, well, I'm willing to like sell this. I'm like, oh, Kenzie and I are essentially just fried from just B2B client acquisition rather than like selling something. Developing a relationship where you have a service job with like someone, like a business who it's like they need to know it's worth it. I'm like, it's a long cycle.
Yeah.
So it's just been really odd. So it's just like, it's weird to have food be the place where I like, oh, I'll save and scamper there. Whereas I'm like, that just directly affects my health and everything. But for some reason, it is a place where I feel bad, like going, like, I mean, I'll get a burger like once a week. Like, I just only eat out, like, you know, it's just, and it's really not that much more expensive. If I didn't buy any snacks at all and I just ate at a restaurant 1 to 2 times a day, it might be as inexpensive. But for some reason, I just feel bad spending $20 on a meal.
You don't live that far from Costco. You don't live in the direct area of it. But
we ate so many of those hot dogs. I'm not sick of them, but I'm at the limit where if I kept, you know, I'd get.
So do you have a membership?
Yeah.
Okay, because like I was just gonna say, if you don't have a membership, let's hit the Costco sometime. Get like 3 hot dogs a piece and party.
And party. And just
speaking of partying, yeah, one thing I was kind of thinking about doing was opening a booster pack on your show from the trading card game of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I would say that's like an abrupt left or right turn.
No. That's who you are.
We weren't really on any topic.
No.
Like we kind of talked about like
we never are.
Politics and stuff. I also don't want to sound like a typical politician who doesn't answer questions, right?
You are.
And you asked me if I was going to run for something again, or if I ever would, or what was that with the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would expect that unless like
Pause.
a lot of really,
All right, good.
I would expect unless a lot of like really good things happen in government that changes the situation, and I felt like people from a variety of class and race and backgrounds, you know.
So no, that's a politician's answer for saying no. Well, if it was this perfect world and I had all the money in the world and all the time and I had like, then I would do it. I'm like, so
actually,
listen.
well, you interpreted it the opposite way. I'm saying
I
I
was
will
gonna do
do it.
hypothetical.
I
Oh.
will do it because I don't see that those changes happening.
Oh.
You know, I just don't know when or where.
I thought you were saying
I have none
if
of
those
that.
changes happen, then you do it. You're saying
No, I'm
you're
saying
gonna do it.
that
Wow.
that like, you know,
Yeah, I
Tiger.
misread that.
Now, again, identity politics, right? I don't want to conflate everything as just being about whether a person is of a certain racial background that they should be in office.
Mm-hmm.
That is just not at all what I think. Thinking of these things as a component is, you know, that's a whole different thing. I think it's been maligned a lot to say like, oh, like if you care about like whether you consider people's like racial background or about diversity, then you're just focusing on that. And that's just, we need to find like, you know, a little bit of middle ground there.
Hey, like it plays a role.
It
Like,
plays a role.
yeah,
So
I can respect that.
So how many people have been on the Eugene City Council who have been from an Asian background? I wonder. You know.
Who cares?
There've
No, I'm
been a
kidding. It's just
lot
after
of
you make a solid case for it. It's
Yeah,
just like, no, that is an
You
interesting
know,
thing.
and the answer is they always have 8 people, and they've been going back for like, you know, over a century, probably like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they've had one. They had one dude who was Asian. Yeah, which is better than none.
Better
right?
than none.
But I've never seen that guy in action.
So
he's
getting
long
in-
gone. He moved to Portland and then Seattle.
You getting in would double it, effectively double it.
And he had to be perfect. He was a student body president of
North Eugene High School.
University of Oregon.
Wow.
And yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. Bobby Lee is his name, not the comedian.
It's hilarious. Open this
Yes.
pack. Open this pack.
All right,
I think
you
it should be
ready?
right there.
You
So
ready?
yeah, what is this? What's the appeal? Because
right.
I got into Genshin Impact like right during COVID.
Well, first of all,
but like now I'm like, holy.
should I get a Pikachu one, a Mewtwo one, or a
Me too, always.
Charizard?
Unless there's
Okay.
a reason not to.
All right.
That one, you know, I
do
like
it.
the shape. I like the silhouette of the character.
An error occurred. That's great. And we're leaving that in because it's an
Beautiful.
unedited pod, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now
As
we're
soon
just
as you start editing stuff, like things start lagging and stacking up, and then I'm like, we
Dude, I use Audacity, which is kind of crazy. Wow, they're downloading
You have
additional
the
data. You didn't need
Audacity.
additional data before
Dude,
the
oh my,
pod.
okay, dude.
Goodness.
All of tech's gotten worse. Like Apple
It's
is
so-
significantly worse. Siri and HomePod's significantly worse. Like they've gone like down
But
a hill
the
and
prices
then off a
have
cliff.
kept going up. You know, like in general, like, you know,
Yeah.
the if we're getting lower quality products and lower quality UIs,
Yeah, you
why
are.
are we-
Yeah, like dude, like pretty much. I think it's the implementation of AI or like the shoehorning it into trying like everything. I'm like, they're just trying to put out updates faster, but I'm like the bugs that are stacking up in my HomePod experience. Like I can hardly queue up a podcast to play to my HomePods. I'm like, I could do that for 4 fucking years seamlessly, but now it's been months of like music and podcast being really tricky, and like Siri will literally just be like, I'll be like, can you turn on the TV? And I'll be like, working on that. I'm sorry, something came. I'm like, it's
Dude, the TVs they make. TVs used to be designed. You know, I'm not gonna say they were like ethically awesome then because it was all about programming your mind then. Still, you know, but they used to be designed like, yo, you watch shows. Yeah, turn on your TV and watch some shows. But now it's like, how can we squeeze in as many ads into every possible experience of using the TV?
Yeah.
You know,
and I don't pay
it's
for
an ad delivery system.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't pay for YouTube Premium, and it's been
And
crazy.
extracting data.
Yeah. Just the experience of like when we were in middle school, there was no ads on YouTube, and then slowly they introduced one sporadically, and now it's like guaranteed one ad before every single YouTube video, and likely a middle one, and some of them are 60 seconds. It's like it's just this like
On
there
mobile,
has-
it's really bad, I feel like.
there has to be an upper limit where it's like I'm watching a 12-minute video and I'm like I have 4 minutes of ads. I'm like, what in what world? But it's like honest to God, the amount of subscriptions, I'm like that's the rock and a hard place is how many ads there are, and the other is like 13 subscriptions, and I'm just like no, I just can't. I just I'm personally burnt out
I
and
have
have decision
subscriptions for
fatigue.
things that in a given month, straight up, I don't use them a single time sometimes, and like it just like makes me feel gobsmacked sometimes that I still spent even if it's $15 a month. You know, Planet Fitness I now pay $25 because I can guest a person in sometimes.
That's the entire business model
But
of
some
gyms, though.
months I don't go.
That's the business model of a gym is to try to get more people.
Canva, there's plenty of months where I don't even like make any new graphic designs or anything, but it is my primary program for graphic designing. You know, I'm a little bit ashamed to say that, almost, but I'm not.
Why would you be? Yeah. Hey,
you know,
it's why would you? Yeah, why would you go over and above? If it gets the job done, it's simpler. It's a more enjoyable UI. It's less expensive than Lightroom. If anything, it'd be stupid to be like you use the overpowered thing just to get what you could get out of the simpler thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big fan of Final Cut, and because I just use basic features, I'm like,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot. Kinsey and I are slightly diametric in the sense of she likes like higher end quality, like a lot of people do, and like, but I'm more or less, and I think in my heart, like I love watching something that's aesthetic and like really high quality, but like lately I've just been really enthralled by things that are just like hyper reality centric, even if it's at the cost of quality. I'm like, I really enjoy it, so I'm just like leaning that direction for a while.
Yeah. What can you give an example
of recording, putting out a podcast from one angle uncut, so both our faces are shown the entire time, and then just putting something out even if it doesn't look as good as the quality. It's weird because we're a video and marketing agency, so it's like, well, does what we put out represent what we do for clients? It's like, no, because
that's like a freestyle rapper versus the albums. Sometimes it's like a rapper that puts a lot of work into their albums. It's like, oh dude, you gotta spit a freestyle right now. It's like, you want me to sell like a crappy product to you right now, like instead of the thing I worked like months on? It's like, yeah, it's like.
But if they just enjoy freestyling and then they learn from freestyling that goes in the album, like that's kind of what it is. Of just I just like being quick and dirty of just like with editing.
Oh my gosh, the Mew packs are out. That's what the update was. It was going to be 10 p.m. today. They're not paying me. The Pokemon company's not paying me.
They're paying him.
Okay, I'm going to open a Mythical Island pack.
And so this gives you dopamine?
I guess so, yeah. It's definitely like time-based, like after a certain period of time. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay.
Yeah. How much does it cost?
And then you can rip that, tear the line either direction. Perfect. Ooh, we got a Sigilyph. Hope that's on the camera. Ooh, we got a Larvesta. Wow, these are all new to me, dude. Liepard.
You kidding?
They're really going to get my money now. A new Magikarp I didn't have somehow. And a Rapidash is one of my favorite Pokemon. There's actually pretty high Gen 1 representation in that, so it's not just like the ones that look like light bulbs and chandeliers that came out way later.
And so, because you were like one of the top Pokemon Go players or you might still be. I'm not.
No. For a little while, I was in like the top, ish handful of people
top
in
echelon.
Eugene, Springfield.
And so this game
the
plays
Springfield
into that?
community goes harder with Pokemon Go sometimes than the Eugene community.
This plays into it, or this is an offshoot?
Dude, there's been so many. There's been Pokemon Duel. There's been so many Pokemon apps. They have
I'm talking 4 generations ago.
Pokemon Sleep.
Wow.
They have one that's about brushing your teeth. Like every time you brush your teeth, you use the Pokemon Dental app or whatever. Like they've got a lot of them.
There's a lot of apps.
But I've always loved Pokemon.
Do you not have fatigue? I mean, you pay attention to politics, so I'm just fatigued by the number of subscriptions and ads and things like and apps and stuff. But I'm like, so I don't have any sort of bandwidth to approach politics taking it seriously or any level of care. You essentially you take responsibility in your participation and like knowledge in what you say in politics, which I'm like, that takes a lot of bandwidth. And then how do you have the bandwidth for all this, man? You're on boards, you have multiple jobs. I'm like, I do clothes and video, and I'm like, fucking dude, I'm up for 3 days straight.
I don't know how to talk about it because I posted my EP and I didn't even hardly say anything about it. I'm really proud of my EP. It's called Bye For Now by Gradient.
Oh, I can pull that down.
7 tracks. Oh, cool.
Nice.
And I really would like people to hear it, but I don't even really feel like talking about it because I feel like half the time I'm opening my mouth on social media, I'm promoting an event that most people won't be able to make it to, so it feels a little bit like trying to climb out of a hole sometimes, or like something like you're not really getting these footholds.
So what's the name of the EP? I want to pull it up and just see a photo of it.
Yeah, Bye For Now. Yeah.
BUY space FOR space
BYE.
See, that's okay.
And then it's actually in parentheses, the For Now part. But if you just search Gradient, Bye For Now, the tracks are, see if I know the tracks in order. It's Air Fryer, He Gotta Go, The Oldest Lie Told at Rap Shows.
I found it.
And then some other ones.
It says album, it doesn't say EP. I mean, seven songs. It's 12 minutes though. Okay, I was gonna be like 7 songs could be an album. Yeah,
short
I
songs.
like it.
The last track is like a few seconds.
Hair Fryer, He Gotta Go, Toll Stars, The Oldest Lie, told it rap shows, paved the way. What does the sign mean? Skit. Big money, abrupt ending. I'm going to start recording skits. Hey, would you be up to be in a comedy sketch show?
Absolutely. But I'm not funny. That's the problem.
Oh, it would be funny because like
I'm just not, you know.
I'm considering making it meta. So you like essentially like in the show I would be a dirtbag marketer who who just like works from home, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I want to start a sketch show.
Yeah.
So I go and I invite you and Cedric. I'm like, so Cedric, you're like a right wing person. Thomas, you're a left wing person. What do you guys think about like it? Just like more or less like have it kind of be slightly meta, but then tell people like, hey, you guys are like disengaged. You're playing here, or tell people they're the opposite. Like pretend like you're him and has his views, and have him pretend to be you. Like I want reality to play a large role in it rather than like scripting. I don't want it to be scripted whatsoever. You know, film if something comes out of it, great.
Have you heard of that YouTube channel Jubilee?
No.
It's like they just like get like 30 conservatives in a room with 30 liberals in a room, and then
they
they're gonna
fight.
debate or fight, or they've been doing ones with like one conservative versus 25 like college age liberal kind of people, and they all like they run into the middle of a room like musical chairs to try to like be the one who gets to sit across from the conservative and debate them. And they did one in the inverse, like where Destiny was the liberal guy.
Like I would do it where it's like 10 liberals and 10 Republicans play tug of war, so they don't talk at all the whole time. Really, I want to do one because I kept getting we helped like a year ago in December.
So they're basically talking about Squid Game.
Yeah,
the 10
funny.
versus 10.
Or I guess when I'm saying that, more
I think
or less,
we're gonna get some good Squid Game memes coming up because the new season's gonna come out on the 26th.
Like here, I have one core idea for a skit that I know will work. I'm excited to make it, excited to put it out. It's not like the cop skit where I'm never gonna actually be able to put it out. It's gonna be how to mount a TV. I'm gonna be dressed kind of like a Best Buy person, and then I'm just gonna squirt lube on it, and I'm just gonna kind of go up to it like how to mount a TV. But like I'm gonna start the first like 20 seconds being like pretty serious, and then you know by the end I'm like drilling a hole through. So I need to find like a broken TV, and then it's you know like I want to just kind of more absurd.
That's easier than actually mounting a TV on the wall.
Oh yeah,
for a lot of
that's
people.
How it started. Is just seeing all like how to mount a TV after how to mount a TV.
Great images of like didn't even bother to find studs, so they just like nailed it into the wall, and then like the whole wallpaper is like a TV sized peel off of the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hopefully someone who wants to mount a TV finds my video on accident and clicks on it and is like, oh, who the depravity. The goal of the sketch.
Why you gotta be so depraved?
I want that to be the thought of everyone who watches it. Just like, geez, this is fucking depraved, even for him. Like, no, I need to continually up it. You know, it's
on brand. That's you, baby.
Do I have a brand?
I don't know. I'm just glad from the branding and marketing perspective. Like, I pretty much enjoyed the last podcast we did.
But the Vultures one, the day that Vultures came out? No,
I think so. It was called Goofy as My Dad.
Oh, the first
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I guess, the last one that we actually was released.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know, really like in a moment where I hadn't I was sweaty, and I had like a work day where it's like the end of the night after a day where I think I did like 2 shifts that day.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think my appearance really just like projected the best me.
I don't think anyone watches that. Hey, you know, if you want me to blur it, like I just
blur it.
I download the video. Blur both me and you. I just like literally just re-upload it in 480p. No one can tell anything.
That's funny too. That's pretty funny. 240.
240. Yeah, 140. Yeah, I'm at my wit's end of just. I just feel like the game is not set up to win within. It's just tricky and tough, man.
Yeah.
You know, and it just feels really sad. Like I've never been that person where I'm like kind of a downer right now. Of like, oh,
I can feel it.
Woe is me, but I'm like, man, just like if I was like 5 years old or so, like I was at this point in my life 5 years ago, I would have bought a house rather than buying clothes. Like the amount of money I had would have been able to be a down payment on a house if it was like just before that. Just like it's just housing's escaping at like a velocity, but then it's like what we're paying in rent is essentially almost a mortgage, like a 30-year mortgage on like so it's like we're just at this place, and then it's like all these jobs and industries is just like, I mean, like I've met people who are like, oh, I just have AI make ads for my company and I just run it and I see which one does better. Like, so it comes up with the copy and it comes up with stock footage. And I'm like, that's fine. Power to you. But I'm like, it's just interesting. It's just fucking weird. You know, it's like, it's an
all of my closest friends are hurting financially right now. Yeah, all of them.
Except
Every single
you.
one of them.
I'm happy. Like, and it's well
I
deserved.
have
I'm
been
saying
helping
this.
some people with their rent sometimes.
I'm saying this from a place of I'm fucking happy for you, man. Because
Thanks.
there was a place where you were in your car. Like,
Sure.
Like
That's
you
true.
did, and you've been working
That's
your ass
true.
off. Like, and I think I don't remember where I said it, but like me and Kenzie on episode 150, I think I referenced you. I'm like, you're a good example of someone who's skill stacking in a way where it's inevitable that it's like you're someone. Like you're a pillar of Eugene. If someone wants like a specific skill, like you work hard enough
way
that it
too
surprises
high
me.
of praise to even say something like that. I'm very much an average motherfucker, you know, and been lucky in a couple of little ways.
Well, I'm in love now.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't say you're.
I've
Do you
relied
see
on other
yourself
people's help on
we
plenty
all
of
do.
occasions. So
Would you not say
I'm just
you're
in a position sometimes where I can kick a little bit back, you know, and it's good. I was just talking to a friend about it because a friend of mine kind of confided in me. I knew they were in dire straits, but like they're facing eviction unless they can come up with, you know, a 4-digit amount of money. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I'm so grateful that they told me about it and were willing to say that because there was a lot of shame attached with
there
bringing
is.
that up in any way.
And once you get to zero, or like it's such a magnet of like it's hard to get away from like the debt or the zero money. Like just it's this. When I had money, I'm like, oh, I had some money in stocks or crypto. I'm like, wow, it was just like ballooning up, and then I had to sell it to pay off credit cards because I'm like, you know, it's whether this will all be 10 years from now, like, Jesus, what was I fucking thinking? Not putting that toward a house or just saving that. Like, I put it all into cotton, and I'm not like really like selling. It's not like cool. It's easy to sell. It's like, Jesus, I don't know, but
You should almost title the episode "Economic Anxiety," and we can lean into it and even talk more about it because
Yeah,
that
so-
seems to be a recurring.
it's
You
it's
know?
big on my mind. That
Yeah.
and the concept of like, well, how do I sell it in a way where it's like everyone feels. So we're an hour and 10 minutes in. I'm good to keep going a little bit if you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you need to go for any specific
No
time.
need for me to. Yeah.
Cool.
Whatever's good for the conversation, and we both kind of do feel like hour-long-ish podcasts are pretty
Yeah.
consumable, which is nice.
So like an hour, 20 more minutes, an hour and 30. I love that. You're a
Let's
person.
go
who-
wicked
there's-
like.
Yeah.
2 hours and 40.
Let's get freaky with it. No, so
We could be singing the songs.
when you say delve into it, what do you mean by that? Like, we're delving into that.
You know, I just think like there has, you know, I love the open conversation kind of thing, but you know, there's gonna probably be a title for the episode. I think usually, right? Or
stopped.
maybe not. You stopped.
I've gone
That's kind of
so-
nice because yeah, it's just it implies what the whole thing is about in like a couple of words. So that's good.
And this will be 155 semicolon Thomas. That's it. Not last name. Like I'm just going less because then people can also feel more open to talk without it's like, oh, if your name gets Googled, like this kind like.
Great excuse to not know how to spell my last name. I love it. I love
I think it's Hero, but there's an I in there somewhere. No, it's just because some people just like say it's like, oh, like should I not say that? I'm like, what if this was just for you or your friends or your kids to listen to one day? This is a documentation of you because I want people to speak openly and just have fun. I don't want them to be like everyone like is watching me. I'm like, I don't promote it. It's like I'm just trying to like the most recent guest, Grace, came on. She emailed me because a podcast I did 3 years ago with Joey Rincon. He OD'd probably like 3 months after the show. They were dating at the time, and she was like, I've listened to that episode like a handful of times since then. It's brought me like, it's meant a lot. And I'm like, that's the goal of the show, is just to like, just capture people's humanity. And so doing that in a way where it's less like publicly attached to their name, but like they know how to find it if they want to share it with people. Like that's kind of leaning toward more of the goal. So less of a title, no description.
That's awesome.
Like it won't help it with SEO or anything, and I might change it eventually, but
yeah, you never know.
yeah, it helps get it
The
put
last one we did was called "Goofy as My Dad."
Mhm.
That's what it's called, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's cool. It was resonant at the time in a way I liked it.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like that open-mindedness, that open endedness, I should say, is nice. I kind of wanted to mention too because like
ambiguous.
I know you love your inventory that you have here, and I think it's fucking sweet. But yeah, like even if let's say 2/3 of these shirts were sold, you could still have the walls covered with shirts. You know, like you have a very space efficient layout right now. I'm really not trying to be like, this is how you should do it, because you know way more about how it's going than me. But
not.
You know, if you had displayed some that are kind of more unfurled or whatever, you know, there's ways that you could maybe still have it be good acoustic treatment in here, and you could get a lot of this stuff sold, and then in people's day-to-day wardrobes and lives. Like, I actually also kind of think, you know, eventually I'll make a music video. I'd like to at some point. That'd be cool to get, like, if I can get 20, 30 friends, and then I buy like 20, 30 shirts from you, and then you've outfitted the whole video, which would be cool for all of us.
I mean, you know? I would almost do it where people can like I would go film it, and I would be getting videos of my clothes. Yeah. So as long as everyone at the end would be like, cool, like they don't keep it, or like they have the option to buy it. Maybe like, I don't want there to be like you wore, because like, honest to God, I want people to be like, try it on, like it before you get, like, I've stopped bringing people one shirt or giving them I like giving people the option, because different people really like different thicknesses and quality and different cuts. So it's like, you know, getting something and then giving it to someone, like, if it doesn't fit them, they'll never wear it. Maybe they'll gift it to someone, but it's like, it's been kind of heavy on my mind of, I'm like, there's a perfect marriage between all these clothes and like a person. It's just finding that is interesting and tricky.
Yeah. How are you feeling in terms of relationships in your life?
I would say I've developed a network through podcasting where it's a lot of people like you, where I would consider myself friends with them. Don't talk all that often. Yeah. Don't go to any events together. See each other once to twice a year. Maybe talk on the phone another 1 or 2 times a year. But I would say I don't have a thriving friend group that I'm like, well, every day I see these people, or regularly. Thank God for Kenzie. Like, I mean, you know, having a pod of 2 is plenty for luckily, but like, if I didn't have Kenzie, I think I would probably be pretty lonely. Or
it was pretty cool how you just decided to create a group chat of people that you love. That was awesome.
I appreciate it.
I know it hasn't been very active the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But
at one point it just crossed. I'm like, I was
in Las Vegas. I was there to help with the Democratic campaign, because it's a swing state. It's the closest swing state I get to is Nevada. But I was there like in a rental car in like the parking garage of the MGM Grand Arena, and like that was when I was getting messages from Mark, yes, about
Star voting.
Exactly. Made a video about how ranked choice voting has flaws as a specific way to structure it. And of course, Mark Frohnmeyer is a big advocate of star voting.
Scored the advocate. I think he's the progenitor of it.
Yeah. So that was cool. I was just like, I was there, and that was a 1-day trip. So I was like really focused on in the moment. So I didn't like do much replying or anything.
But not a lot of people left. Like, surprisingly few people left, which I think is a good sign, because it could come back at any point.
That's such a beautiful. I don't mean to sound like my therapist and I have been getting along so well lately. I almost think about whether I should try to be a therapist. But it's like that's a beautiful thing to for them to have left. It's communicating something to you, maybe whether they intend to or not, but and it's setting kind of a space for them, a boundary for them.
Totally. And some of them left. She's like, I have, you know, like a 2-month-old baby. Yeah. Like, I appreciate it. Like, and I'm like, it totally makes sense. Like, because if you don't press the like silence notifications, it does sound like bing, 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 bing. So like, I tried to make the first text be like, here's how to make this not annoying. But yeah, it was just, I think there was like this, much like talking about debt was a feeling that I'm like, oh, I feel like this weird, I should be secretive, but then I don't like that. Yeah. Of like, man, I think a lot of like my friends would like each other, or at least get like similar, like, and like they don't all have to meet or know each other, but they can break, like, however it works. But I'm like, yeah, I just wanted to max out Apple's thing, which is like 30 or 32, of just like starting with like my favorite people, iPhone only, because if there's a non-iPhone, it just like, I couldn't name the chat, like it would break us. So it was like 30 of my favorite people who have iPhones, and it was fun. I'm really happy.
They were all iPhone people.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So it was
that's interesting. I mean, that's different. I mean, it's maybe I actually don't think it's. I think it's cool that you did that for the purposes of like everybody's having the same iMessage experience. I think it's weird that our friendships and relationships are delineated based on like Android versus Apple.
It
like
is.
Fuck that. Like
no, I agree. It should be like that, because I started on Facebook. So the reason that I started that is like right before I got hired at Arcimoto, one of the Peter Thiel's protege people who like gives $100,000 to drop out of college, Keter Griswold. He like works in like just like a smart person. I got put in a group chat called OnlyFriends, or first it was AmericaNet, and it was essentially just like high-level people in industries, but no one's asking each other. Like, it's non-professional. It's for memes and hanging out, and like if you're doing something, you can ask for advice and people give it. Couple people know each other, and it's like, but there's no like overarching, like we all know each other from here, so it's not cliquey. It's more or less just like a subreddit like thing, and I loved it. But Facebook Messenger, I really like the text UI. So I wanted to keep it there.
Me
and,
too.
You
Me
know,
too. That's what my partner Haley and we use that almost exclusively. Sometimes, you know, if we send an Instagram reel or something, it might be a little bit of conversation in Instagram. Sometimes we do text, but very rarely.
Wait, so it's on Messenger. Oh, fascinating. I think it's funny. Yeah. Earlier, I misinterpreted you. I think you misinterpreted me. I was saying I didn't do it on Messenger. Like,
oh, okay. I like the messaging UI with Messenger.
Oh, yeah. I guess the iPhone's one is just called Messenger. Too, I think, or Messages.
Messages is the iPhone one.
I like Messages.
Or iMessage, but yeah, the app looks like it's just as Messages.
Yeah, but like Facebook's UI is great. I just wanted to stay away from social media. Like, I didn't want to get caught into a loop.
That was the least convincing. Facebook's UI is great.
It's because I'm like, it's useful. Because it could be across Android and iPhone.
They've fully leapt from like being a very text based, and you know, like people would write out like long things, notes and things like that, and statuses that were like text based, just fully video based now.
It's not. Hey, I love video and photo. I would say if it's in Messenger, a lot of people send like reels and like Facebook, like people are just like, you know, when you come across something, oh, that's funny, I'll send it. Like, I didn't want to be a place where it's really like it's like native to a social media that stuff like that gets shared there. Like, I don't know what the space is going to be or if I do develop it or anything, but I'm like, you know, just I want it to be a place where like also I'm not just shilling my clothes, but like I'm like if I could just gift it to like one person a week or something as a way to like just keep it going, but like I don't want to keep it. I don't know. Group chats are an interesting thought.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having community, of just messaging everyone at once, like rather than like I kept doing like, because I posted some of this on Reddit, and I got like a lot of people like were really interested, but I haven't even opened the messages because I was like, after a couple of them, my replies were like multiple paragraphs, and I'm like, like it's private message, and I'm like, I wish it could be more public than that. But I've noticed that there's an interesting thing. If I post like a Instagram story, I'm curious if you have the same or the opposite. An Instagram story, it will get more like views, interactions, and comments than posts almost universally, and I'm curious if
very much so.
Is it like that for everyone? That's so odd.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, yeah, I mean,
it's a system where I almost just want to post stories most of the time.
Yeah.
That's odd.
I don't have like insider info on it, but I mean, well, the threshold for like interaction is really just like as you're scrolling through it, it's sending your view to people, you know what I mean? So it's a lot quicker than scrolling and tapping and liking and having to discern.
And
a lot of people are pretty happy with just like, you know, I'm engaging with my friends by being on their viewer list. But then, you know, you can also like if you're like extra interested in that post. So, you know, I just think the numbers game is quicker, like to get into the hundreds, 200s potentially. I don't know what.
I'm like 80, and I'm like, God, I am just a rock star.
Well, they like to make the numbers bigger by having it go to Facebook and Instagram. You know? So, you know, but yeah.
But the number of people you actually care about, it's just.
I have hate watchers.
You do?
That's the funny part, you know. I have people that, you know.
I hadn't even considered
they're lurking.
Some of them are hate watchers.
Which is okay. I'm trying to be okay with people, you know, having a fuming dislike for me. Yeah, that's cool. That's fine.
Hopefully I was some sort of inspiration for that, because I, you know, it's like I do want to live a life where it's like, well, people might have different views than me. Hopefully they can not like be like Tiger's evil. They can just be like, wow, Tiger.
It comes down
really
to whether
energized,
it's
even if he has the wrong idea.
Right.
Because I do have wrong ideas all the time, but I'm like, you know, I got to really try it on and like fit it. I have to like.
This whole pod has been full of them.
Evil.
Gosh.
Yeah. But like I have to really full-heartedly believe it, and then I can switch. If someone like presents something where I'm like, you know, even emotionally, even like I've started going, not abandoning logic, but just being like, wow, emotionally like resonant points like matter a lot to people. Like I think it shapes a lot of people's worldview, even if like logically it doesn't matter, but like you can emotionally, like if someone emotionally clicks or understands something that you're relaying, it's a deeper level of like change or understanding than like, well, technically they know that it's better, or technically like it's just, it's, people are like, oh, like deep in my plums I like that, right? Like the so I've been going more toward emotional, kind of ambiguous. I don't know, man. My life, I'm in this weird
life is so meant to take you into various domains. I think, that's why I spend a lot of time really resonating with people that like to explore various domains. Maybe one of those is ending the pod here shortly and figuring out what the heck we're gonna do next.
Yeah,
but it's really awesome to see you, dude.
Yeah,
like I'm gonna shake your hand, if that's okay.
A lefty shake. Thank you very much.
This guy's awesome, dude. I'm glad to have you as a blessing in my life. Keep it real.
Bye. I need to find a good way to end the pod.